Hello, welcome. My name is Martha Hines, and I'm so happy to be here in this EA Zoom meeting. And today I'm going to be presenting about Hygeia, the goddess and asteroid. And I will say a little bit about myself, but first I'll explain why I'm interested in Hygeia. I'm very interested in general in the goddess asteroids and in the divine feminine in general. And Hygeia to me seems like a goddess asteroid that's not discussed very much. And I actually don't even hear all that many astrologers using her in their explorations of astrology. So when I've looked at my own chart and transits and worked with clients and friends and family, she comes up a lot. And for me personally, she is at 14 degrees Virgo, almost exactly conjunct my ascendant and my moon. So she's very, very prominent for me personally. And so she piqued my interest. And this presentation today is not meant to be me as an expert explaining Hygeia to all of you. It's really an opening conversation for me to learn while you learn, and for me to hear your reflections as well, either here live or over the coming weeks and years, because I would love to hear your perspectives as well. But I will share with you what I do know about her and what I'm noticing about her current interactions with the transits right this minute, because it's very, very powerful what she is doing right this minute. Just to briefly say what that is that she just crossed the south node of the moon, and she's about to be opposing Uranus exactly in just a few days. We're recording this on September 1st, 2022. She's going to be exactly opposite Uranus on September 5th. And then she's going to be squaring Saturn on September 10th. So when we have this, we're about to be coming into, Uranus and Saturn almost exacting that square that they were doing last year, this coming October, and Hygeia is playing right into that whole dynamic. So on the nodes of the moon. So to me, it feels like there's this Hygeia is wanting to talk. She's wanting to come out and explore through us. So that's why I'm here, and that's my intention today. And I really appreciate you being here and listening. So I will share my screen. And here is Hygeia. You can see this is one. I have a few other images of her, but she is often depicted holding a snake with this cup. And I'll say more in a second. So a little more about me. I have studied astrology primarily with Ari Moshe Wolf, who is very well known to a lot of you. And I also am influenced by some shamanic astrology and by the work of Heather Ensworth. And she's one of the astrologers who I do know who does incorporate Hygeia into her work. So she and I spoke a bit about Hygeia just briefly through email. That's part of where I get some of my thoughts about Hygeia. But in general, my approach to astrology is definitely based in a lot of EA thinking. But then in addition, really what I value is our own personal relationships to the energetics of the cosmos and our own relationships to these energies. And I really strongly feel that we are continually evolving. And so our relationships to these energies is continually evolving. And so, for example, with Hygeia, I feel really strongly that this is an open conversation that needs to be a dynamic one, as opposed to one expert giving the correct answer on what these things are. And also for me, my relationship to astrology is very strongly connected to my own connection with the spirit world. So a lot of what comes through for me when I look at an astrology chart or when I'm looking at the current transits is also the messages I'm getting in my praying every day. So that's just something important to know about me. I also have 20 years of experience as a clinical social worker and psychotherapist and body worker. I work primarily with a nonprofit and with the county of Santa Barbara, where I live, as a clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in trauma and attachment. That's the bulk of what I did for 20 years. And then 4 years ago, I started channeling a book series called Living the One Light, which I could say more about, but essentially it's then I'm now incorporating my relationship with the spirit world and astrology into holding spaces for healing and transformation for people. And my website is livingtheonelight.com. So in terms of where I got my information for today, I have here some websites that I used, and I also, looked at various YouTube videos and I, like I said, I talked briefly with Heather Ensworth. So it's kind of a compilation of over the last couple of years looking for information, but there wasn't a whole lot of really comprehensive information out there. And here are some images of Hygeia that I just wanted to share. They're really beautiful to me, all with her with the snake. So I'll say more about her connection with the snake, which I find really fascinating. And so Hygeia in mythology, she is known as the goddess of physical and mental health, preventative medicine, and hygiene. And she is the daughter and attendant of the medicine god Asclepius, which I just learned from Sue is also an asteroid. So I didn't know that, and that's really cool. Hygeia is also known as the companion of the goddess Aphrodite, and her sisters included Panacea, Cure-all, and Remedy. So her whole family is mythologically known as being associated with medicine. Hygeia's opposite was known as the spirits of disease, and her Roman name was Salus. I just skipped something there. Oh, right. And in classic sculpture, she was represented as a woman holding a large serpent in her arms, just like I just was saying. In astronomy, Hygeia was discovered on April 12th, 1849. She is the fourth largest asteroid in our solar system, and she's so big that she is considered almost a dwarf planet. She takes 5.5 years to orbit the sun, just like most of the other asteroids. And because of the gravitational pull of the nearby planets, Jupiter and Saturn, astronomers calculate that Hygeia's orbit is subject to random changes over time, which I also find really interesting. So in astrology, Hygeia is thought of often as a feminine figure associated with health, whereas Chiron is, often thought of as a quote unquote masculine figure associated with health. And I feel like the comparing Hygeia with Chiron would be a whole fascinating thing in and of itself. In my personal chart, Chiron also is extremely prominent right on my south node, conjunct my Venus. So I have Hygeia and Chiron both very, very present, and a great deal of my identity and my energetics is definitely associated with healing. So I think it's just really interesting. I would love to just do a whole comparison of those two energies sometime, and I would love your thoughts on that too. So Hygeia is, not surprisingly, often found prominently in the natal charts of people who identify in some way as a healer. So in the charts of doctors, nurses, psychotherapists. I've read several times, in the charts of people who are dentists and hygienists, because again, she's associated with hygiene, and cleanliness and the preventative aspect of healing that is associated with keeping things clean and hygienic. And when I have looked at her in terms of when she's transiting a chart, again, I am not an expert in this, but I've been just sort of observing this for the last 2 or 3 years. She definitely shows up in some very uncanny ways with regard to moments in people's lives when they are having a healing crisis and or they are needing healing. And so one of the things that I'm really curious to hear other people's perspective on is, what is the nature of those healing moments, really? Like, if we took a scientific survey of when Hygeia seems to show up in people's transits, what would the quality of those health crises or illness moments or healing moments be like? That's a question I don't have an answer to, and I'm really curious to explore more about. And then these two last points about Hygeia and astrology are the two that call to me the most and the most fascinating. Transits associated with Hygeia often can speak about cleaning and clearing a particular area of our life. So one thing I wonder is, when Hygeia shows up and let's say an illness happens to also show up in a person's life, is there a way that we can think of maybe that illness or that opportunity for healing as being associated on some level with also giving an opportunity to clean and clear some aspect of that person's psyche or life or lifestyle or something? Is there some opportunity associated with cleaning and clearing that might be helpful for that person in that moment? And then similarly, this goes back to Hygeia being associated with snakes. Hygeia is also talked about as being associated with this idea that poison sometimes can be transmuted into medicine. So snakes historically have also been associated with this idea that sometimes a poison can be medicinal. So I think about that with the transits of Hygeia also. Is there some way in which, if a quote unquote illness arises or a healing opportunity arises, that what we might be thinking of as a difficulty could have some other perspective we could give to it, that is the quote unquote poison of the illness could actually be medicinal, or anyway, is there some other way that we could be thinking about it? So currently, Hygeia started 2022 at 1 degree Scorpio, and she went retrograde on March 12th, 2022 at 14 degrees Scorpio. She then went direct on June 16th at 2 degrees Scorpio. And this summer, just in the last few days, so 3 days ago, she was conjunct the south node of the moon at 15 degrees Scorpio. 4 days ago. I've lost track. Anyway, in the last few days. Then on September 6th, actually not September 5th, she's going to be precisely opposite Uranus. Hygeia will be at 18 degrees Scorpio, and Uranus is at 18 degrees Taurus. And then on September 10th, Hygeia will be at 20 degrees Scorpio, squaring Saturn, which will be at 20 degrees Aquarius. So she's, so as I said before, Uranus and Saturn are moving into what will be almost an exact square in early October of this year, 2022. And Hygeia is right this minute sort of playing into that whole dynamic of that Uranus-Saturn square that is so prominent and powerful. And then on October 7th, Hygeia will move out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius. And then she'll just zip through Sagittarius and enter Capricorn on December 19th. And then really interestingly, she will be conjunct the new moon at 1 degree Capricorn on December 23rd. So that's just kind of got that in the back of my mind. That's a really interesting new moon coming up. And then Hygeia will end 2022 at 5 degrees Capricorn. So some of my thoughts about how Hygeia could be offering us wisdom and healing in this time, given the current transits. These are just my thoughts. This is what comes up for me when I pray on it, when I feel into it, when I think about it. And, you know, at the end of this, when I'm done talking, I would love to hear other people's thoughts or reflections. Because again, I'm not pretending to be an expert. This is just an opening for a conversation. But some of my thoughts are that Hygeia in Scorpio almost this whole year, and then also on the south node of the moon, feels to me like an opportunity for us to be clearing and cleaning on a deep psychological and soul level. So, you know, the south node of the moon in Scorpio already, just that in and of itself is such a powerful opportunity for us to be releasing things on that deep psychological soul level and transforming and clearing, you know, anything that doesn't feel in alignment or helpful to us here and now as we're moving on to whatever we're moving on to. But then to have Hygeia there, if I think about this notion that she helps to clear and clean anything that she's moving through, well, with her in Scorpio and then her in Scorpio on the south node, that is such a powerful energetic. What comes to me is this image of, if we think of ourselves as like a temple of the divine, I feel her almost as and this could be true for some of us and not true for others, but for me, she feels like a part of ourselves that's coming along to clean out the inside of our temple, like that temple that is us. And she's giving us this opportunity to go deep, 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 deep inside and get really clear with what is in alignment for us on this level of us as beings of the divine. This is, and I'm bringing in the Uranus opposition also here, but you know, if we are ultimately these temples of the divine as a being, then Hygeia in Scorpio on the south node feels to me like she's letting that temple drain. Like anything that's gotten gunked up in there can drain away, can go away. And then when we bring in Uranus also being opposite Hygeia soon in the next few days on the north node of the moon, Uranus for me is associated with the intelligence of the divine, and Uranus in Taurus for me is associated with the intelligence of the divine as our bodies and in our connection to the earth. So this highlights for me, you know, that's such a powerful combination of Uranus in Taurus, the intelligence of our bodies, the divine intelligence of our bodies, the divine intelligence of ourselves as earth, coming into this opposition with this goddess who helps us to clear and clean on physical level, on emotional level, and then, you know, in Scorpio on the soul level. and she comes into this relationship with Uranus where it's like, to me it feels like this immediate radical alignment that happens, or that could happen for us, where we're suddenly grounded in our soul. We're helping to get cleared out with the Hygeia energy, and then Uranus is just bringing us straight into that alignment with ourselves as the divine. So again, I would I'd love to hear if you feel into that for yourself. What does that feel like? That feels extremely powerful for me. And yeah, just going back to one thing I said up here, also similar, it feels to me like Hygeia may be helping us to clear anything which is contrary to our own inner soul level power. So again, coming back into that alignment with ourselves as the intelligence of the divine, and then clearing, just completely radically clearing out anything that is not of that ultimate soul power that is us as that divine intelligence. And then when Hygeia comes to square Saturn, one thing that arises for me is that this may be emphasizing, again, an opportunity for strengthening gentle structures, like that yin aspect of, or that yin perspective on Saturn, the gentle structures for supporting our health and personal care routines. So Hygeia, I didn't really say this so much in the beginning, but Hygeia is very much associated with the daily care routines that keep us healthy. So it's very, in a lot of ways, similar to Virgo or sixth house kind of energy. And Hygeia squaring Saturn feels to me like it's an invitation and an opportunity for us to kind of breathe into, okay, so Saturn is helping us to hold ourselves in this gentle, healing way that is, supporting us in doing whatever it is that we truly need to be doing on this daily, regular basis to keep ourselves clean and healthy and in line with that divine intelligence of ourselves as our bodies and as people, beings on the earth, in earth bodies. So just to open up some questions, some of the questions that come up for me related to all of what I just said are, what are we clearing and cleaning on a deep psychological soul level? What is ready to be released on that deep level, both personally and collectively? In what ways might Hygeia be helping to clean areas of our lives where we may be taking back our true soul power? In what ways are we coming back into full alignment with the healing and wisdom of our bodies and in our relationship with the earth and with our bodies as earth? When we go deeply into the wisdom of our bodies, what wisdom arises? What does our body say that we are needing in terms of gentle structures for supporting our health and personal care routines, or in terms of anything else? And in what way might there be poisons, quote unquote poisons, which as we release them or as we transform our relationship to them might be medicines in another sense? And before I end, this last slide is just saying I would love to hear your thoughts, and then my website again, which is livingtheonelight.com. I would love to, before we open it up for questions, if that's okay, I would love to just take a minute to help us drop into our bodies and come into a place where maybe these wisdoms would arise. Because again, one of the things that I value so much is not only coming from our brains when we think about these energies, but also coming from that intelligence that is our body, and coming from the intelligence that is our soul, and coming from the part of us that probably has done astrology for bazillions of lifetimes. I think that's true for so many of us. So I'm just going to take 2 or 3 minutes here to allow us all to take some deep breaths and feel ourselves ground into this planet Earth, Mama Gaia, who's holding us, and that Uranian energy in Taurus helping us to come into that intelligence of the divine that is the Earth, that is Mother Gaia. It's herself and ourselves as Earth, and the divine intelligence of our own bodies. And if you want, you can also feel the light of Source itself extending down into your body, meeting the light of your own heart, and then the light of the heart of Mother Gaia Earth, rising up through all the layers of the earth and meeting your body, surrounding your body, and meeting that light of your own heart and the light of Source itself. So all of these flows of light from the earth, your own heart, and Source itself are mixing and surrounding you and filling you. And reminding you that you are held and perfect just as you are, just as we all are. And we can imagine the presence of Hygeia, the asteroid, and just the energetic of her that is all of us being here. She is one manifestation of the infinite manifestations of the divine that is all of us. And you can even feel her re-become you. And maybe there's a knowing in your own body about her, or about the wisdom of her, or the healing of her that arises, or that you just know, or you feel, or you hear, or you see. And I invite you to, if you want, to invite her to be a teacher and a guide, and to open up in the world whatever wisdom or remembering she is ready to be bringing forward. And so it is. Amen. So yeah, I would love to hear any thoughts, any reflections, any questions from anybody.
Martha, that was fabulous. I have to tell you that Hygeia and the South Node are right on my Scorpio Mars. And so as we speak, and so it felt very personal, and it felt very good to hear you speak about the wisdom, the opposition with Uranus, and how the wisdom comes into our body. And I love that visualization of asking her to tell me what it is I need to know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I see that Maya has her hand up. So Maya, do you want to unmute and speak? Let's see.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Martha. This has been, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. I yesterday it all seems like it's been a little bit of a series of synchronistic events. But I have been dealing with a really intense period of illness over the past many years. And yesterday I was in meditation and I saw myself almost from above. And in that visualization, I was pregnant, which I'm not in real life. And there was this huge serpent kind of around me. And last night, I had a bit of a restless night. And finally, I went back to sleep at about 5 a.m. And I had this dream that I was in this home and all of these serpents started coming into the house. And then this morning, I had a message and I came across this talk. And I saw that image just now of Hygeia with that serpent. And so I think my question is this. Just from your schedule, I find it interesting where I'm like, oh, there are some points where she's obviously connecting. Like my natal north node is 18 degrees Scorpio and south node 18 degrees Taurus.
Okay.
So I'm having, I guess, what do you call that? Like a
Nodal reversal.
Yeah, nodal reversal. There we go. Yeah. And funnily enough, my ascendant is at 2 degrees Capricorn. So I guess that'll be a fun new moon coming up. But I just looked up Hygeia in my chart. I'd never given her much thought. And what little I know about asteroids, generally astrologers that I've come across have mentioned that they are only prominent when you have them either conjunct or opposing, a planet. And I looked it up. She's at 27 degrees Libra. I don't have anything really near her. Like I have my Venus at, 12 degrees Libra. I think the closest thing is like a sextile with my sun at 26 Leo, but there's nothing.
But
Yeah,
Pluto is squaring at her right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think what I just wonder is if she's not quote unquote prominent in your natal chart, how it's just interesting that she's showing up. And I'm just wondering your experience on that, because you said that she's very strong in your charts and conjunct. So I think more than anything, I'm just curious why this is showing up.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably many opinions on this. My opinion is that these asteroids, I think it's kind of a little bit silly that people would say that they're not going to be prominent unless they're, conjunct certain planets. Because if I think about it, I have many different angles I can think about it, but just even in terms of if size matters, she's almost as big enough to be a dwarf planet. Pluto is a dwarf planet. Pluto we think of as extremely powerful. So why wouldn't she be? Ceres also is very, very large and it's almost a dwarf planet. So why, I would say there's maybe patriarchy going on here and that we think of these as quote unquote less important because they're feminine.
Right.
That would be my guess. But I also think that people haven't really given these as much attention as they've given to the other planets. And so I would wonder over time if that opinion is going to change, once people really track Hygeia or track Ceres or track whatever. Why should Pluto be more powerful than Hygeia or
Right.
Yeah. But I think it's fascinating. I mean, so Pluto is currently at 26 Capricorn, but it's going retrograde. So it would probably, I don't know, I'd have to see your exact thing, but I think Pluto might be squaring your Hygeia 5 times. Sometimes it'll make passes 3 times and sometimes it'll make passes 5 times.
Right.
So it's going to be either 3 or 5, probably. That's really powerful, and that's really a long chunk of time to be aspecting your Hygeia like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would be
Thank you.
curious just to even look at that and dive into it more deeply.
Thank you.
But the thing that speaks to me the most is these dreams and all these images of the serpents coming up. I mean, I think that's just for you, that's such a deep, rich, powerful thing. And I would love to, yeah, if I were you, I'd love to just dive into just what's that, because that's your truth, as opposed to whether someone else thinks that Hygeia is important or not, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it was just a funny kind of consecutive events within the past like 20 hours or so.
Yeah. I mean, there's clearly something there for you around this serpent snake thing, you know? And I think it'd be amazing to just go into your own praying on it or meditating or whatever it is, and or just journaling. I don't know. It'd be so cool. Or doing art. I don't know, whatever. I don't know what if you do any of those things, but that would be so beautiful.
Yeah. I'll see where it takes me. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And if you ever want to email me and tell me, I would love to hear.
Absolutely. Thanks so
Cool.
much.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question or a comment for Martha? If you do, just go ahead and unmute and speak.
Yeah, my progressed Hygeia is at 26 of Capricorn right now. So it's conjunct Pluto.
Oh, wow.
And I've had a lot of health issues also in the last couple of years. And I also, last night, coincidentally, dreamt about snakes.
What?
I did. I opened something and a bunch of bugs and snakes came out of it.
Wow. Fascinating.
Yeah.
What do you associate with snakes?
Well, I do fear snakes, so they're fearful, something fearful for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I in June I led a 42-person speaker series called Rebecoming the One, which was all about exploration of gender and sexuality. And it's all free and it's all on my website indefinitely if anybody's interested. But one of the interviews I did was with a woman named Dawn Bowman Brunke, who is an animal communicator, and she's written a whole bunch of books. And the most recent book that she's published is about snakes and about the history of our relationship to snakes, and the fact that snakes, you know, in pre-patriarchal times were revered and were considered connected to the power of the feminine, the healing power of the feminine, and then they kind of morphed into a scary thing. And so that's just really fascinating in and of itself. And she talks about how snakes are connected with Hygeia historically also. But one of the things she says in her book that I just thought was hilarious, she has a chart of deaths in the United States caused by various animals, and including snakes, right? And statistically in the United States, not worldwide, but in the United States, more people have died from being killed by cows and dogs than snakes. Yeah. So I mean, I'm scared of snakes. There's no doubt I'm scared of snakes.
Well, I live in rattlesnake country, but
yeah, I do too. Yes. So, I mean, I don't think we shouldn't be scared of rattlesnakes, but I think it's really interesting that more people are killed by cows.
Yeah, really. I didn't think people were killed by cows.
Exactly. So
dogs, I know, but
yeah, that makes a little more sense. But cows, I don't know. So
I think you have to really mistreat a cow to get killed by a cow.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened. Yeah.
Is it psychologically generally, you know, spiders and snakes are kind of the two most feared kind of, you know, personally.
And scorpions.
I get scorpions, yeah. Personally, I snakes are not something I fear. I've never had it like I enjoy them, or I have a almost fondness for, of course, rattlesnakes, or something that's poisonous I would not go towards. But yeah, I definitely don't have that. Like even in Harry Potter, where he could speak parcel tongue, I was like, oh, if I could speak an animal, that would probably be my language. Or I remember thinking that. So yeah.
That's
I
so
think in a sense that snakes also represent power.
yes,
So,
definitely.
like
Mhm.
Scorpio or Pluto, so
Interesting.
people are fearful of power.
Mhm. Well, and that's fascinating. I wonder how many people are having dreams about snakes right now with Hygeia on the South Node in Scorpio.
Right. Yeah, my dream was very vivid last night.
Funny.
Martha, what I'm very interested in Hygeia's role in cleansing the temple.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know more about that. And was there any particular uh, day or ceremony or ritual practice uh, associated with this that you've come across?
No, that image really just came up from me in myself.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
well,
seems very true.
it feels real to me. I think we just had this new moon in Virgo. And so for me, Virgo is very strongly associated with ourselves as a temple. And so coming right out of so Hygeia was conjunct the south node of the moon almost at the same time as that Virgo new moon. So I think probably that's kind of the combination of energies that I'm feeling there. But it just feels real. At least for me, it feels real that she would maybe serve that function. But that would be fascinating. I would love to know more about her story. And I'm
Well, those
curious.
are always the first steps before you have ceremony, before you invite other people in. That's the first thing that you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and this morning through my feed, we had a big rainstorm last night, and so everyone was posting pictures this morning of the pretty snakes that they saw and talking about how beautiful they were.
Wow.
And we have other snakes that live around us, but that's what I put it. There were like 20 posts with, oh, how beautiful, and all the good things that they do, which is
Oh,
nice.
that's amazing. So, that's fascinating. Very, very cool.
And I wouldn't mind if you put your last slide up again, the one of your questions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There you go. Do you want me to read them again, or was there something in particular you wanted to?
I just wanted just another minute with them.
Yeah.
You could take a screenshot and
I did. I just am anxious to know
there
now.
you go. There you go.
I am a Virgo,
Mhm.
and my Chinese astrology, I'm a snake, and so the and the art. There's a lot of art that I've stumbled across over the years that are a goddess with a snake, and so with the cup is. Do you think that's about like, on a milking the snake for um medicine or what?
You know what? I actually don't remember. Does anybody remember what the Hygeia cup is? I can look it up. That's a great question.
The image almost looked like she was inviting the snake to drink from the cup.
Oh, okay. It's called the Bowl of Hygeia, and it's associated with the symbol of pharmacology.
Oh, okay.
Hygeia's symbol is a cup or chalice with a snake twined around its stem. But it doesn't say what it is. Sort of seems to be what it's implying is that it's associated with medicine, but I don't know that.
Perhaps the power of the medicine.
And
It makes perfect sense that would be, you know, how, what is a medicine? What
yeah,
is it,
and then
what is it made from? How is it mixed? How is it, what's the alchemy of, in a sacred way, preparing the medicine?
beautiful. And then again, that association with poison, maybe sometimes being a medicine or having a way of transforming into medicine.
Which it was with Chiron.
Yes. Right.
Right. And with, like with homeopathics, a
I was
tiny
just thinking that. Yes.
something
Mm-hmm.
encourages the body to have its own systems come and be. The other thought I had was about the personal health routines and the your idea of gentle Saturn. And any more thoughts on that?
Can you ask a slightly more specific? Yeah, say a little more.
What would Hygeia in full grace have us do for these times?
Oh, wow. That's an amazing question. And I love that phrase, in full grace. That's beautiful. I mean, what I immediately feel like is we would each know different answers through ourselves. So that, to me, that's a slightly different question than the Saturn yin question, but is there a connection? I would love to answer either or both, but do you want to say a little more about what you're feeling with those?
I guess let me hone that a little bit and say, in the with the world experiences that we have now, just globally, and what would Hygeia have us add or honor in our daily lives? And again, these are things that I'm thinking are very may seem very normal, but are also very sacred practices. And in a world that's a little bit askew right now, perhaps even the normalization of some essentially deeply sacred practices
Beautiful.
may be more readily adapted.
Yeah, and I mean, I hear the nugget of your own answer there, and I would love to hear more about it. I can just say a little bit about part of what my answer would be, and if you want to add something, I would love that. But for me, the idea of Saturn as yin in general feels like a really key and important idea for our world right now. And Ari Moshe Wolf, maybe you've heard his talks on Saturn. They're very beautiful. And Heather Ensworth also talks a lot about Saturn as yin. But for me, the whole idea of Saturn, that we associate Saturn being with, like a harsh taskmaster and all of that, transforming our perceptions about Saturn to me feels like a major step in transforming our whole lives and our entire world. So I'm not exaggerating. So for me, for us even to take our perspective on Saturn and remember that at the essence, Saturn is a yin energy and Capricorn is a yin feminine energy, if we even can come to our sense of what it means for there to be structures as a yin idea, to me, that my body, when I personally switch into that mode of thinking of Saturn and Capricorn as a yin energy, my body immediately relaxes. And so when I think about what you're saying about us having daily routines, you know, there can be like a very harsh Saturnian way of thinking about our need to do daily routines that's, to me, not very helpful. It's coming from the outside. It's an authority outside of us saying, you must do this all the time, you know, every day, do X, Y, Z. And that, to me, that creates anxiety, that creates a sense of not being safe in my body. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but when I switch and I think of the Saturn energy being a yin intention of giving us exactly in each and every moment, the exact structure that we need to be gently held so that we can do exactly what is ours to do as a being of the divine in that moment, then suddenly we can relax. And Saturn is just holding us up, again, gently, but just enough so that then, you know, that intelligence of the divine that is us can know, okay, so what is right for me in my routines in general is XYZ thing. And so it comes more from the inside out, but we're being held at the same time, as opposed to us just sort of flailing into nothing. We need that Saturn holding, but then ideally the wisdom about what is ours to do in terms of those routines would be coming from the inside out, as opposed to some harsh voice yelling at us from the outside. That's what comes up for me, but I would love to hear what comes up for you or anyone else.
That's very lovely. And we have to have some sort of a vessel to contain things. And it seems to me that as we here we are with this really fourth pass of the Saturn-Uranus square.
Yeah.
It comforts me a great deal to reimagine Saturn.
Yeah.
In a yin form.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm actually going to be writing a whole chapter in a book on that. Yes. Because it means it feels so important to me. Yes. Yeah. Wonderful.
Awesome. Maya, were you wanting to say something else? I saw you raise your hand and take it down.
No, I mean, kind of to add something in the prior line of conversation. So I don't know if it's outdated in the conversation now. But
Yeah. No, go ahead. I would love to hear it.
Yeah, thank you, Christina, for bringing up that goddess image with the serpent. This was quite a few years ago. I did a few-day workshop on ancient Mayan abdominal therapy techniques. And through that, we were going through some Mayan history and their take on even fertility and the womb and all of that. And there was this image of the ancient Aztec triple goddess, and kind of that, maiden, mother, crone archetype. And the maiden and the crone both had the serpent with them, yet the mother didn't. And I remember kind of asking the teacher, well, why doesn't the mother also have the serpent? And she's like, well, she probably doesn't have the time. Because the serpent was this symbol of the magic and the medicine and the mystery. And so I was kind of thinking about that even in a way. And then even the chalice is, or can be in many cultures, kind of a symbol of a womb and that which gives life, and that feminine connection to the serpent. And so it was just some ideas. I don't quite remember what we were speaking about earlier, but I wanted to add that.
And that's,
Perhaps, sorry, perhaps the mother was embodying the snake rather than not having time for it.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, Verena Burrell, who's a good friend of mine who's done a couple of talks on here. She and I were talking yesterday about Saturn being like the holder of the womb. You know, Cancer being the water. We think of Cancer as womb, but Capricorn and Cancer are our polarities, and so maybe one way to think of it is the Capricorn is giving that gentle yin structure to the Cancerian womb.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love that way of thinking of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you have any closing thoughts, Martha, before we finish up?
No, I mean, I've just loved hearing other people's perspectives on this. And, you know, I said this before we started recording, but as we have been recording, the moon has been passing right over the south node of the moon and Hygeia. So I think that's probably not a coincidence. And, yeah, I feel like Hygeia has some medicine, some wisdom that's wanting to come up and out and in this time and moving forward. So I would love to continue to hear from people. My email is livingtheonelight@gmail.com. And I really love, I mean, like your stories and everything you've been sharing. It's really fulfilling to me to hear that kind of thing. So I welcome emails, and I welcome people connecting with me in general. Again, my website is livingtheonelight.com. And yeah,
We'll put all that information in the description of the video so people will have it.
Great. I really appreciate being here. Yeah, thank you.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much. Look forward to your next talk with us.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.